So one of those.
There's so many clickety clicks. And this is where I get all the little.
Let's see if this works.
I know I furrowed at one point.
Oh no. And you know it's going to take that picture and like put it everywhere.
Not all the other smileys, but they'll do the furrow.
Okay.
If you're watching this in repeat, what's actually going on is our intro. Hello!
Hey, see?
We're trying to do two things at once. We do our intro for the show, and then we know that when we do like repeats on this and people watch it like after the fact, they don't get to watch the intro, so they watch us sitting here going, is it working? Is it working? So now we're trying to actually...
Yeah.
But it's not working.
It's April Fool's Day. It is. Happy
Hello.
April Fool's,
Happy
I guess.
You know, I never really got into that as a child.
Yeah, actually,
by the way, this is Lee and Paul from coupledom.com. This is Relationship Rehab. And we talk about relationships, all kinds of relationships, and how to fix them, what's wrong with them, stuff like that.
That's right. What they do? Oh, I kind of put a kibosh on Bobby doing any April Fool's stuff.
I think, honestly, I find it silly.
We have too much stuff going on to add the chaos of him walking around saying, you know, house is on fire, April Fools.
Stupid.
That just not. So, yeah, ain't gonna happen.
Ain't my cup of tea. You know, I think that it's funny because this whole week, is the air conditioner on?
Yeah.
For frickity's sake,
we had
it
the
is
oven
hot
on.
as
It's like
in here.
92 degrees outside.
And it rained.
That's one
like
of the problems.
poured a little while ago. He's an chick because he's my man and he does things like that. Anyway, so for the last week I've been really like looking at this. I was raised by immigrants, you know. I mean, my parents were literally fresh off the boat. They didn't come on a boat. They came on a bus technically because they flew out of Cuba to Mexico, and then from Mexico was a bus to Los Angeles. So, you know, they didn't know the stuff here. So I didn't know April Fools until, you know, I was in school. So, you know, and my first grade, I didn't even know how to speak English. Because I was raised by little immigrant people who didn't know how to speak English. So I was very sad for Lee.
Oh, no.
Trust me, when I go into when I do like therapy and stuff like that, and I regress a little bit, I go back to those times where Lee didn't speak any English and stuff. It was a very sad time.
Aww.
I speak pretty well now. Thank God. Only 40-something years later.
Are we moving and stuff? Because we're not on that one. So just want to check to make sure everything is working okay. Or is this a horrible April Fool's thing?
Yeah.
It could be.
I start talking about my how to refresh Happy April Fools. Did I? Is that what's working for me? Anyway, so prank all you want to. I mean, we love a good laugh, but I don't like laughing at other people's expenses. I learned my lesson.
I don't mind laughing at other people's expenses.
Oh, that's
I just refuse to.
Yeah.
It's just right now we've got too much stuff going on. We'll end up
What
having...
is going on, love bunny?
Oh, we're going to have 5 young children at our house today. So between the ages of 4 and 10. So
11.
11.
She's 11.
Yeah. Just turned 11, yes.
Yeah.
So
those good ages.
So 5 kids between the ages of 4 and 11. Our house is not big enough for that. We would need a West Wing and a nanny to be big enough for that, and we don't have that.
We don't have that.
So yes, doing a little babysitting.
So
yeah, can't have the whole April Fool's thing going on.
Plus, we also have all the issues with our daughters going to college next year, so we're still waiting for all those word of where she'll end up. So this week we decided we made a positive decision to just act as if she's going to a certain school because she's already been accepted. We've already done all the stuff there, and if anything else happens, well then we get to make a decision from there. But vision board, the thing is that it's beyond vision board. Right at this moment, we had been, the 3 of us had been so anxious that we were not paying attention anymore. That we were losing focus. We were getting cranky, not sleeping. I mean, it really just messed up anxiety. So of course,
things like me forgetting to put in gas into the car.
Yeah,
like
little
going
things like that.
to the gas station and then
not
brain
doing
fart
it.
and
then our daughter, she has Asperger's, so even though she's very, she's highly functioning, and she's been through a lot of therapy and stuff, she's still, when the chips are down, she still, reverts to who she is.
Yeah.
So, she would hover around me. When I say hover, I mean literally get like this with me, and I'd be like, okay, Jeannie, what do you need? I mean, what's going on? Oh, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. It's like, okay.
Little side note, that is a typical thing for people with Asperger's. That's one of those, like spatial dynamics.
Don't understand that.
Not real good. Plus she's blind.
But,
also,
that
depth
whole perception,
thing.
Not good. So, I mean, when I say hover, I mean, I would be sitting down writing, and she would just be here.
Yeah.
Like, some sort of lamp on me.
But she doesn't say anything.
But she doesn't say anything. She just kind of like smirks at me. So finally the other day, I'm like, okay, what's wrong with you? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, don't make me pull out the therapist eye. I mean, it's like, I could be mommy with her and, be normal, or I just got to pull out the therapist card and just therapize her. And that's not really a word, people. I'm just making crap up. But, I looked at her and I go, okay, let me guess. I go, you're extremely anxious. And she's like, well, of course, and then I'm like, okay, well.
Always, I think. Yeah.
No, she says, of course I am. That's what she said.
Was it of course?
It was of course I am.
I thought it was something more.
No, she wasn't. No, it wasn't always. No,
Okay.
She's not always stressed.
Yeah,
this is more.
Okay.
She's waiting for word, and just like we are. And then, so one of the things that therapists do with people who are anxious, who have something that they're waiting for, or whatever, you have to stop thinking about it. It's not healthy to perseverate, and that's a word that we use. Like, it's like ruminating. Ruminating is like what the cow does when he's chewing and chewing and chewing. Perseverating is just chewing on an idea over and over and over again, and that doesn't give you. We think that doing that gives us, brings us kind of relief because we're thinking about it, and what it does is just create more anxiety because you have no resolution. And anxiety isn't always caused by an actual thing that you're waiting for or an expectation. It could just be something that you have internally. So when you already have somebody who's prone to anxiety, like somebody with Asperger's, or I'm prone to anxiety. Good God, you should meet my mom. You need to stop. That is, anxiety is an obsessive thought, and this is good because we're talking about sex today. So this is actually a segue. See how we do that? So obsession is, when you just keep, picking at that one thing in your brain. And you just need to stop doing that. You need to refocus. You need to create something brand new to think about. Something that you're not really interested in picking at, So something that's progressive, something that changes. So it's not like, oh, he cheated. Can't change that. Already happened. It's in the past. If you have something in the future, you could have something to work towards. So that's what we did. We just decided, okay, we're operating as if she's going to Humboldt, period. And if we get word about the other schools, fantastic. But we're not waiting.
Yeah. I think that was better on our brains.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper to have a therapist in-house. Mm-hmm. That's the way I like to see it. So, and she seems better.
Yes.
She seems better. We're definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped looking at their website. I'm nothing. That's where I am. If they don't know enough to take my kid into their school right away, well then
how dare they?
How dare they? So anyway, so we're talking about good sex.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about you saying.
We can say that one too, just to give an idea of my stress
level. If you
level.
guys follow us on Facebook or whatever, you might have noticed yesterday we had some funnies. Paul yesterday was talking to somebody. He's in school, and actually he's finishing school. He's getting his master's in business and
my MBA.
His MBA in what?
Finance.
Finance.
Yeah. Finance concentration.
See, that's number stuff. Yeah. Mommy, don't look at that.
Yeah.
So then, as he was saying goodbye to the person he was talking to on the phone from school,
I was trying to get a password reset. So it was a customer service person.
You said?
Love you, bye. That's the way I hung up.
So then, of course, he looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, what the hell? And then he goes, I didn't just say that. And I'm like, yeah, you did. So then the whole day was us laughing at him for saying that to this woman, who was apparently very rude to you.
Oh, yeah, she was kind of a bitch. Uh-huh. I mean, basically, the password reset, from her point of view, was telling me I was stupid and didn't know how to come up with a password. You know?
He didn't tell me that yesterday.
Yeah,
so, yes. So, that was our joke yesterday. So if you guys actually follow us, if you actually thought that I was mean, I mean, being angry with him, or I wasn't. I was just making fun of my husband.
Yes.
22 years, honey. I have rights. One of them is to make fun of my husband.
Yeah.
So, anyway, good sex.
Good sex.
You know, I find it funny because, okay, sex is almost like a national pastime. It's an obsession. It's the underlying theme of pretty much everything we watch on TV, everything we read, everything we watch in movies, music. You know, Paul's favorite thing to do when we're listening to music in the car is to lean over and say, do you know what the song is about? And then proceeds to say a bad word. And then we giggle and, you know, it's cute, people.
I thought you were going to come up with my other favorite thing to do, but that's different. Go ahead.
Anyway, so it's there, okay? And the funny part is that we don't really learn how to do this. Sex is something that few people take classes on, you know, unless you're, you know, one of these wild hippies that take, you know, tantric classes, and congratulations if you are. Or, you know, you might pick up a book every now and then, but even then, those aren't common books. I mean, The Joy of Sex was a novelty. It wasn't because people really wanted to know about it. It's like people pick up the Kama Sutra and books like The Joy of Sex, not to learn about sex, but to look at pictures of people having sex. Which is sad.
Yeah.
You know,
basically picking it up as ancient porn.
Yeah.
Playboys of the, you know.
It's a joke. It's a joke gift, or it's like, hey, you know, look at this, what I got you, something with dirty pictures. But it's not used as how we would buy a book like, you know, Websites for Dummies, or, you know, this, you know, people don't buy it for those reasons. And
as a how-to book.
Exactly.
Which is really what it is.
Yeah. All those books are how-to books. You know, of course, the Kama Sutra doesn't really come with directions as much as it just has the figures, you know, that were created thousands of years ago. But the point of it is, we have this bravado, like we know what we're doing. And most people have no clue. And what we find is that what we tell people is, well, just do it a lot. Practice makes perfect. Well, if you're doing it wrong, practice?
Yes.
Practice is stupid.
Yeah, it just means that you're going to
get really good at doing something badly.
Right.
And actually, you know, we've, in the old days when I actually saw couples in therapy, I would get these couples and you know, the way that it works in couples therapy, in case you're interested, is like the first couple of sessions, you would see the husband alone, and then like about half an hour later you'd bring in the wife alone, and then bring them both together maybe for another 15 minutes to a half an hour. And you do that to get an idea of who you're dealing with, and also to give them a little privacy to be able to talk crap about the other one. It's, you know, it's like if you ever go to couples therapy and they don't do something like that, be very leery about what's going on, okay? And the reason why is, you know, therapists are just regular people who've gone to school and learned some stuff. Some couples therapists aren't really trained couples therapists. They're therapists who now see couples who bring in their own crap. And I'm saying this only from working with people who had actually worked with other therapists, and those therapists were just horrible. But I'm not talking crap about therapists, so I'm just saying, beware. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so one of the things that would come up a lot was sex. Mm-hmm. And when you do marriage and family therapy, you need to learn a lot about sex, and you need to learn a lot about sex therapy and how to coach people to have better sex. So I did. Yay! Yay for me! Yay for us! Uh-huh. So that was. I mean, that is definitely a plus for our marriage because I already knew all this stuff. Not like it made me a professional, but it started the dialogue. Okay, that's we're not perfect. We're as close to perfection as you're going to see. I'm only kidding. Not really. But it is, the idea is most couples don't feel comfortable talking about sex.
Right.
Because we should know it. It's kind of like trying to teach your husband how to read. He should know how to do that by now, right? And he's going to be like, wait a minute, woman, I already learned how to do that a long time ago. And this is natural, like birds and bees. Well, we've already taken out of the natural realm. Because of things like pornography and things like that, sex isn't just natural anymore. Because now you got to get all fancy with it. It's not just, the bumping and grinding anymore. Now you got to have whereas before, not so much. Before it was just have fun, do what came naturally. That was a good thing. Now it's like, get all contortionisty and,
right, yes.
do things with flair. That wasn't the case before. So, anyway, the number one thing that people need to learn about good sex is talk about it.
Yes. The whole conversation thing that's the important part of good sex.
It's imperative. It's like, it's kind of like dropping off your car at the mechanic and saying, here, and then leaving, and not telling them what's wrong with it. And then they have to spend all that time figuring out, okay, what did you not, and basically it was just the wipers, and they've already taken apart half of your engine. It's get clear on what you want. It's for ladies, one of the things that I find sad is girls, okay, we are raised in this very, what do you call that, mixed message society. Mm-hmm. It's we should be good girls, and yet the moment that they put a ring on it, we need to be bad girls. We need to be good girls and chaste and beautiful and pure and innocent, but we need to be able to, wrap our legs around our head the moment that we get married or the moment that we're in a relationship and we're having sex. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff messes with our heads. Now, whereas you have the guys who are being raised, you need to be a stud. And it's always, you need to be a stud. But nobody's bothering to tell them how to be a stud. Nobody's telling them that, this is not going to work. So then the suggestion is, why don't you watch porn? Mm-hmm. Porn or dirty magazines, things like that are going to make you better lovers.
Yeah. That's not real accurate.
It's not accurate. It's not even close to being accurate. Because you see, in real life, for those of you who are not aware of this, there is no cutting. There is no editing. Everybody's not on Viagra. There isn't a fluffer on the side of a set making sure that, you're erect the whole time. It's not real. Yeah. And this is stuff that we forget about when we're watching porn. And I wrote about this on Wednesday, and it's not a popular opinion to have, to say that pornography is a bad thing. I'm not a prude. I'm talking about fucking on TV. I'm not a prude. It's just not healthy.
We have watched porn, just so that you know. We have seen it. Yeah. But yeah, it's like she's saying, it's not healthy. It's too much.
Yeah, it is. It's too much. what it does is that it puts a lot of pressure on the guy
Mm-hmm.
to do certain things and be a certain way that most men can't do. Like, for example, huffing and puffing for what? 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Like, this constant finishing up speed. Yeah. How's that for it doesn't happen, and what happens that with men who actually try that, one, either they're going to feel like they had premature ejaculation, or they get numb. Mm-hmm. And then they can't have an orgasm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, friction
burns.
Yeah, friction burns. There are certain things.
And that's another thing you're not watching on the thing. It's like, these guys are well lubed.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that you miss.
Yeah.
So many things that they cut out. Like, they cut out the putting on the condom.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hardly ever show that anymore. They cut out the fact that they are so well lubricated, they could slip and slide all over the bed.
True.
Because she's not going to like it. Whatever amount of time that they're actually going to be doing this is very uncomfortable for a woman too. So the point is, it's not a healthy thing to watch.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that too.
Oh, okay.
Keep going. Keep going. No, okay. So we talk about quality versus quantity. It's not about how many times you do it. It's about how well you do it.
Yes. That pretty much goes with anything, by the way.
Yeah, but, that's not really what we say. It's like, we tell men to go sow their wild oats because they figure if you have sex 1,000 times, you'll be good at this.
Yeah. Yeah, that logic doesn't really work.
It's not a batting cage, people. But, it's like I was when we were writing about it, I was telling Paul, I'm like, it's like telling... when you tell a guy to go sow his wild oats, it's like telling a kid to get in the batting cages for weeks on end and do that every week. Well, if the kid can't swing...
And you never tell him how.
And you never tell him how.
You don't even tell him how to hold the bat.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. And that is really what it is to have so much sex. It's like, okay, so much crappy sex. For a guy, I mean, this sounds mean. I know, I'm sorry. It doesn't really matter. Once he has his orgasm, he's done. If it's about pleasing his partner, he really needs to learn how to stand in the box, how to hold the bat. He needs to learn how to do that.
And the thing is, it is about pleasing his partner. Okay, I mean...
For most guys.
Yeah.
For most guys.
There is the pleasure of orgasm and all that kind of stuff, but a good chunk of the pleasure comes from... the writhing and the sounds and the... Writhing, yes.
Who writes?
And the acknowledgement of enjoyment. It is one of the reasons why the ego is so involved in...
That's why you don't like high fives in bed.
Yes,
that's not good for you. You like the moans.
Right. It is one of the reasons why the ego is so involved with a guy being good, is because that's the only way that we can really judge whether we're good lovers. That's also one of the reasons why this whole concept of like faking an orgasm and that kind of stuff is so very detrimental, because then it puts in doubts. It's like, oh, well, she made the yummy noises.
Maybe she was eating something. It just brings us to women now, ladies. I don't know how many times this has to be said, but don't fake the orgasm.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You get what you deserve at that point.
I mean, it's like telling somebody, oh, I really love the way that you make this certain food, and then they keep giving you the same food over and over again. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's gross. It's counterproductive to yourself. But this is what we learn, and this is one of the reasons why I stress so much that everybody should go and get a little bit of therapy. Because we're warped growing up. We're told things like, guys will like you more, and you'll have more happiness and all this other stuff. you're cutting out a whole chunk of happiness if you're allowing the person that you're in love with to keep sexually performing in such a way that is not getting you where you need to be.
Now, I'm trying to remember a statistic. If I remember right, the statistics are that over the lifetime of a man, he will, on average, have, I think it was 7 sexual partners, and a woman would have 5.
Right.
Those are the averages. Okay? Now, just so you know, we're well below the average. I think. Except for, my
your customer service representative,
yes.
yeah, that whore.
But if you think it through, basically, on average, we haven't had a whole lot of, neither men or women have had a lot of experience. Okay, because
the average person,
7 does not make this huge statistical sampling for you to work
so
from.
that however, but the thing is that there are certain constants in the sex world, certain things that we know. And if you do any kind of reading, which I do encourage a lot, read. There are some really great books out there to help you learn about the opposite sex. Because that's something we don't do. We don't teach that kind of stuff. We'll teach a whole semester of driver's ed, but we won't teach when we teach sex ed, we're just telling them, don't get sick.
Yeah, right. Don't get sick, don't
get
pregnant.
sick, don't get pregnant. But then you aren't telling the guys, hey, listen, guys, above everything, clitoris.
Yeah. See, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else, guys. Clitoris.
Yeah. See, that's why I brought up the statistic. Okay, speaking to the ladies, there is if you are with a guy who you are going to be his last sex partner, okay, which most women, I would think, hope that the guy they're with is going to, then, and this is the average, then he has been with 6 other people. Okay, again, not a really, it might be, oh my God, but you know what? Not a big statistical sampling there. That means that you need to educate the guy on what you like different than the other 6.
Or what you like.
Or what you like,
because
period.
The other 5 or 6 of them probably never said anything.
Right.
Because the statistics is also that something like 1 in a million women will actually tell their partner what they like. And then it's just so mind-boggling to me that you're willing to marry somebody or you're willing to live with somebody or commit to someone in any way and not bothering to tell them what you like. You're going to tell them things like, you know what, I hate ketchup. Don't have ketchup around me. Or, you know what, I hate that cologne. You're going to tell them shit like that, but you're not going
to bitch about the toilet seat.
Bitch about the toilet seat. Or how you like the roll of the paper, on the top or on the bottom. Or, 22 years of bitching at him of, did you put water on the dishes in the sink?
But you're not willing to say where your clitoris is.
Or that you,
Yeah, I do wear. I'm sorry, but, guys.
Oh, yeah, well.
I mean, we know that it's not in the forehead, but beyond that, beyond that, homing in on the thing is really is it there? Is it there? Is it there? Okay.
Really seriously, you actually have to do that?
I did. Well, I mean, now now I pretty much know where it is.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's funny. That's true, he does.
Oh,
he knows where it is. Yeah, and it's very, we know, okay, let's get into the mechanics here. Ladies, for men, where are the erogenous zones? The head of the penis. Extremely sensitive. If you think of the head of the penis as your clitoris, it's just a ball of nerves. They're just there waiting for things to happen. Okay? The bottom of the shaft. The bottom part. I know. Don't tell me I'm hot. I know.
Just letting everybody else know.
Some men are very sensitive in the chest. Depends on the guy.
Right.
You have to ask him, do you like that? I don't know. Some guys are. This one is. So I know. The neck. The lips, obviously. It's all to a different kind of touch. So then these are the places where on the testicle that burn up. But those are also depends on the guy because that could be a very touchy subject. Whereas you have the ladies, the triangle, as we say, the breasts. Whoa.
Yeah.
We're having thunder.
Yes.
Major thunder.
Yeah, we have a little storm action happening here.
We have a cold front coming through. I think that it's going to get down to about 75 tonight. So it's going to be freezing in Miami.
Yeah, frigid.
Don't use frigid while we're talking about sex.
Sorry.
Anyway, so, and the clitoris. The clitoris, the way that it works for a woman and an orgasm, guys, if you're watching, girls, if you're watching, because most of you don't know, is the clitoris needs to be stimulated. An orgasm is technically what happens when you reach a certain amount of excitement from pressure on the clitoris where your uterus actually lifts. And it's actually a spasm in the uterus where it lifts. And that's the rolling sensation. That's the I don't know, like it's a shocking sensation. You actually feel like jerking up if it's actually a good orgasm. And there's definitely degrees of orgasm. The beautiful part about a woman is that she can multiply orgasm because you see, whereas a man reaches excitement pretty quickly, will climax orgasm, and then he has to start from ground zero after that, after a certain amount of rest time. It depends on the guy.
Refraction period.
Yeah, because refraction, I mean, if you think about it, that's a retraction almost.
Yeah.
Because, he might go flaccid or some like half and half, and then you'd have to start again. Whereas a woman, once she orgasms, she kind of stays up there. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't take much to keep her going. So the idea of direct clitoral stimulation, whether through oral sex or manipulation, or the best way of missionary position on top, because you have the constant friction of his pelvis against your mons, as we like to call it, as it is called. And that's how, that's probably one of the better positions for that kind of thing. Now, what we tend to forget is that it's not about all the flashy stuff. One of the things I always recommend to women is like, let him, you should get stimulated. You should already have an orgasm before you ever start having sex.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because then you're pretty much guaranteed constant orgasm. And even if he finishes quickly, you've already had at least one or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys, that to me is kind of a rule of good sex.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now you have the secret. If you go to a sex therapist, they're going to tell you this. Okay? That it really isn't this big secret. If you take time and you work with her, you'll be able to have her have orgasms all the time, and there will be no faking. Mm-hmm. And if she still fakes, then she needs to go to therapy.
Yeah, right. You have different issues than
you have different
sex.
Issues. Maybe she doesn't trust you. So, back to, what is it? Go get some blankets?
Because you're cold. It's going to be 75 here.
Are you kidding me? I am sweating. Yesterday it was like 90-something degrees here. And I'm reading all this stuff about snow flurries everywhere else in the country. I'm like, what?
It's hot.
Is it cold back in California? I don't know. I look forward to that. I know. This has actually been a very warm winter here because of the last few winters here in southern Florida. It's been cold. It's been cold all the way into April. And when I say cold, the nights would get into the 40s, and for us that's cold because you don't have jackets and sweaters and crap like that. You actually have to pull out your jacket. That we don't wear jackets. This thing is, it's like 3/4 sleeves, and it's like itty bitty thin. This is like one of the warmest things I had. It was hot yesterday, 90-something here. I had to go shopping because I'm cooking for the retreat center this weekend, and I was like, I look like someone put me in a sauna because it was just so freaking hot. Every store we went into, everything was just so hot. So I'm looking for some coolness. That'd be nice. Some rest and relaxation. Coffee's good too. So where are we? Anyway, so pornography, and this is just going to be one quick thing. I want people to start thinking. Okay, one of the things that we don't realize when we're watching porn is that we go into a trance. Now I don't know about you, but the moment the TV turns on, I get all slack-jawed, my tongue sticks out.
You loser.
You know, I go into a TV trance.
Yeah.
You know, that's what happens with kids. You stick them in front of the TV, they kind of just, they kind of sit like this, they're looking up, the jaw gets all slack because we've gone into trance. Mm-hmm. And we know this as parents because we look forward to having our kids go into trance so they can be quiet for 5 minutes.
That's the reason why we turn on the TV.
So, it's normal for that to happen. Now, the moment that we bring sex into the equation, you start activating different parts of your brain, and you start stimulating your body and all that. So what you've gone into is even a deeper trance. So you're watching this and you're kind of forgetting that you're really watching a movie. It's kind of like thinking that Star Wars is real,
Mm-hmm.
because you're watching it and you're so engrossed in it, you're like, wow, that's so freaking amazing. It's not real. And because we go into trance and because we get all slack-jawed, we forget that. So one of the things that I know that porn has created a whole flock of people who are addicted.
Yes.
Okay? And I've talked about this before on the show. I was addicted to porn. Well, technically I am addicted to porn. And I'm not one of these teetotaling kind of people that just because I don't look at it anymore, it's all bad and evil. I don't think all porn is evil. I think like there is actually therapeutic porn and stuff like that. That's not actually like the kind that's produced in the valley. It's actually produced by sex therapists, and they have sex surrogates who do things and whatever to teach things. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Okay? I'm talking about what's happening nowadays, the level of sex addiction. Now, I wrote about this yesterday, and the reason why I write about it is because I'm really kind of sick and tired of people saying that sex addiction isn't real. Yes, it's true that in the next diagnostic statistical manual, the DSM, which is where we get all our diagnoses from, and it's done statistically and whatever, they're not going to have sex addiction in it. They call it sexual issues, otherwise unspecified, or some crap like that. Or they're going to call it hypersexuality, but they're not going to call it sex addiction because they don't feel that there's enough data on the phenomena, which is bullshit. And probably because they're sex addicts on the committee. Yeah, I said it. What?
And honestly, I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't really matter. It's like,
how you name it.
Shopaholic. You
Yeah.
know who a shopaholic is. We believe stuff like that, but because of the fact that we have become so jaded, that we look at people like Tiger Woods or Jesse James who have come out and said that they're sex addicts. And this comes after this, whatever, this trauma and this major, media frenzy over the fact that they cheated on their spouse. That, so this is what the new reason is that you cheat on your spouse. That, you cheat on your spouse because you're a sex addict, blah, blah, blah. And now, you have no responsibility. That's not what addiction is. And the fact that we look at it that way in society is really such, an ignorance on our part. And it's a shameful thing on the part of professionals who haven't really taught. It's like, when we watch stuff on, on the cable channels like Intervention and and My Strange Addiction and Celebrity Rehab and stuff like that. These are real addicts. These are real people with real problems, real obsessions and compulsions, and we just think it's a novelty. Addiction is very real. I worked as an addiction professional for over 20 years as a psychotherapist. I've seen all kinds of addiction. Sex addiction is one of the saddest ones I've ever seen.
It is just as horrible as like meth addiction.
Yeah, it's like you don't lose your teeth, but you'll lose your life.
Yeah, we've seen various videos and such that we've watched on this where they'll do the interviews.
Yeah, videos on sex addicts. Yes.
But they do the interviews with them and talking about people who would be having sex. What was it, like 20, 30 times a day?
And if they weren't having sex, they were masturbating.
Right.
Now this is the extreme idea of what sex addiction is, and there are people out there who do that, and there are people out there that engage in such risky behaviors. Let's use Tiger Woods, because I think Tiger Woods is a great example, and anybody who doesn't see the fact that this man is a sex addict, and when I say he's a sex addict, that doesn't mean that he's actively a sex addict. I'm saying that he's addicted. He may be in recovery. I hope he is in recovery, but the addiction is still there. Okay, this man, how many women crawled out of the woodworks for this guy? Okay, he has his wife at home, who he's having sex with too, because she was kind of surprised that this was all happening. So let's say they're having sex a couple times a week. He goes off to his little, tournaments and whatnot. 14 women came out of the woodwork to say that they had had sex with him within the last 18 months. That's 14 women that came out of the woodwork. We're not talking about all the other women that were one-night stands or things that he paid for or things that he paid off to shut up. Plus the fact that they know that on his laptop he had hundreds of porn movies, like saved in his hard drive. He had it on his iPhone. He had pictures and movies. Now, how much sex does he need to keep watching? How much sex does he need to keep having? The fact that his whole life fell apart. It's like,
that
what does
would
that
be considered a risky behavior.
You think? The fact that this man is worth millions and millions of dollars, and he's willing to risk it all for a waitress in some golf club, some part of the world. And I'm not saying that waitresses aren't worth it. I'm just saying you are going to risk your fortune, your family, your life on this woman.
There was no
thinking.
Right, and there was no thought there that this woman was the one he was going to spend the rest of his life with. This was not, he fell in love. None of that was there. This is some woman he had sex with.
Right.
And if he could have done it without actually finding out her name, that would have been all the better.
Right. Now, you could say his sense of entitlement, I agree 100 million %. But there was an obsession there.
Yes.
There was a compulsion. Addiction is OCD in a different thing, in a different manifestation. The same way that somebody with obsessive compulsive disorder will check the lights 5,000 times because they think the world's going to explode. A person will think about sex and have sex thinking that this is going to make them a better person, that they're going to feel good about themselves.
See, all addictions, addictions have basically the same concept as far as in your brain, what happens in your brain. It is all about getting the happy chemicals in your brains, not the happy ones, the ecstasy that get the adrenaline going, the relief, that, I feel so good feeling.
Yeah, I feel better.
Those ones going.
Right.
So.
But they're all generated from fear. They're all generated from either a self-worth, lack of self-worth, or self-loathing. And that compulsion, that need to get rid of that feeling of feeling like crap,
and get that happy
and get the happy feeling, or just the
Right.
relief,
Right.
like, okay, it's not going to happen right now. So we're all going to die, but not at this moment
Not
because
right
I
now.
already checked the lights 15
Yes.
times. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, I had an orgasm. I'm going to be okay for a bit.
Right.
They think I'm beautiful. I'm not a piece of crap because they think I'm beautiful. Or, look at, I had an orgasm. I'm happy right now.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. So when we joke about something as serious, I mean, it's kind of like joking about somebody who's addicted to crack, and saying, oh yeah, that's not real. That's just you just don't know how to like control yourself.
If he wanted to, he could stop.
Yeah, well, that was his mom.
Yes.
Not- I don't know, because he says that sometimes she watches. I don't know if she does. But yeah, no, a few years, nothing, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting here and we're talking about alcohol addiction with an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. Actively in
in recovery and
working the program and the whole bit.
doing his AA stuff. Sorry, Charlie Sheen. Yes, somebody was doing AA,
Mhm.
and I agree with Charlie Sheen. By the way,
Mhm.
AA isn't for everybody.
Right.
That kind of model isn't for
Mhm.
everybody.
Yes, but it does work for.
But it
a
does
lot of
work
people.
for a lot of
Yes.
It is a good support for a lot of people. We
Mhm.
know somebody who's active in AA
Right.
at this time, and he's been sober for a few years
And
now.
I would even say that it's a good testing ground to find out if you need something else.
Right.
it's a good place to start.
Right. And the thing is that he had done it backwards, because he had done all of his internal work, and then he quit drinking, and then he went to AA.
Right.
So he already knew all the other stuff by the time he did that.
Yeah.
A friend of ours that we know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was I saying?
I
forgot.
Oh, Winston had a brain fart here.
Where were we? Oh shit. Yes, OCD. Oh, okay. So when we have OCD, and when we have these thoughts, if you think about it, we almost are willing. No, we agree that yes, you hit a certain age, all you think about is sex. So it's almost like we encourage the obsessive thinking about sex.
Mhm.
And we assume that from the ages of, let's say, 15 to 30, that's all you think about.
Yeah.
Now, anybody over the age of 30 that's obsessively thinking about sex, oh wait, this guy's a kid, this guy's immature, or this woman's immature. See where we're going here? Because after 30, you're supposed to be a parent, and you're not supposed to be thinking about it anymore. And yeah, you might engage in it every now and then, but the media tells us that 15-year-olds are horny up until about 30. That's what we hear from the media. The reality is that, let's say that you were this obsessive thinker from 15 to 30, that ain't gonna change once you hit 30. And especially once you get, a few dollars in your pocket, and especially when you start feeling that age kicking in, because that helps too with the addiction, because then you don't feel the same way. And the sense of entitlement, once you hit 30, really starts to kick in, because it's like, hold on a second, I've gone through all this, I've done all this. Let's say, you've reached some level of success by the time you're 30, then you demand satisfaction. You know what I mean? So we start seeing, in therapy and in treatment centers, sex addicts in their 30s.
Right.
That's really where we start seeing them, because then it becomes an issue. Because before then, you're just young,
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Why do people cheat on their spouses? Sex addiction is a very good reason. Because it doesn't make sense. When we say things like that infidelity doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't make sense. Why? Here's someone who claims they are in love. Now, that's like 90% of most people who commit adultery claim they are in love.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I love this person, this is the person of my dreams, I love him so much. And yet, we have statistics that show, before it was like 50% of women, now like 60-something% of women cheat on their husbands. And men, it says the statistics were like 75, now it's around 80%. There's so much cheating going on, and if it isn't actual physical contact, now we have the cyber contact, where people are emotionally unfaithful to their spouse. That all feeds into it. Obviously, if they're doing cyber whatever, they're having cyber sex and they're masturbating and they're doing things like that. All of that stuff goes against the idea that no, but I really love you. Well, what happened with this other person? Oh, well, I don't know what happened. And they don't know what happened because they're in trance. They're in their obsession. They're in their compulsions. They can't think because this is addiction. It's like, why is it that you tried crack in the first place? We know it's bad for us. It's not like they were raised on the moon, on the dark side of the moon, where they don't know that crack is bad, or that cocaine is bad, or that all excess is bad, or that meth is bad. We know these things, and yet they still do it. Why? Tell me. Why? Because they hate themselves. Because they feel like crap. It's so simple. It is so simple, and it's like, the reason why we talk about this in the same show as good sex is because this is what's ruining good sex. When you think that you got to prove something, now, and I remember when I was first married, we had very weird schedules. I mean, I had a normal adult schedule. Paul had, the adult schedule and student schedule.
Right.
So he worked 8 hours a day like a normal guy, but he started at in the morning. And he didn't come home till 11 o'clock at night because he went to school after that, and he was taking a full load at school. And yet, and I could look back at this, 20-something years later, and look back at my obsession and my compulsions back then, that I knew that as a newlywed couple, we had to be having sex all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's what the rules
the
are.
rules are, yeah. And
the
I
rules
had the
say,
same thing.
And this one is coming home, and you could tell, he was exhausted. Now, granted, we're talking